Welcome to the day 5 session on Selenium WebDriver and Java training by 5 Elements Learning. Today we are going to talk about the concept of strings, arrays and hashes. So yesterday we have discussed about the operators and the conditional statements and the looping statements, and I hope things are clear to you guys. Any questions from the yesterday's session? Okay. So when we try to print a statement, many a times it happens that the statement contains multiple data types. For example, in the same statement, we may want to print the string, we may want to print a decimal, a floating variable, etc. So how can we do that? So we use something called as system.out.printf in brackets format comma items format to print the string. So printf is a function which says print formatted string. So formats are basically your data types and items are the variables whose value will be replaced with the format. So you have got %b, %c, %d, %f. So %b is a boolean value, c is a character, d is a decimal, f is a floating point number, %s is a string. Okay, and we provide the items which are the variables at the runtime. That means at the time of execution, these items will be replacing these format specifiers. Okay, and for that we use the format system.out.printf. So let's see a small example for it. So here we declare integer values a, b and c. Okay, and we say system.out.printf sum of two numbers %d and %d is equal to %d, and we say a, b and c. So what will happen at runtime? It will be writing that as sum of two numbers 10 and 20 is equal to 30. Similarly, for floating points we have got %f, and for boolean we have got %b. So at the time of execution, the variables will replace the format specifiers and print the values. So through this we can create such strings which contains multiple data types and print them with ease. Hope this is clear to you guys. Now let's talk about the string class in Java. So what is a string? A string is a collection of characters. Okay, this is what a string is, a collection of characters. Now, let's take an example. So how do we define a string? We say string str is equal to, so it will create a variable called as str and store these values in here. Now how the values are stored in a string object is like this. So string at 0th position we will have h, at 1 position we will have e, at the second position we have L, at the third position we have again L, at the fourth position we have O. Okay, so this is how we create the string, or this is how we write the values of a string. Okay? Now, string is a class in Java and it has a lot of inbuilt functions using which we can manipulate the string object. So let's have a look at the string class in Java. So just spend a minute reading about it. Go ahead and read this document. And once you have read, breeze through this first few lines, move on to something called as method summary. Okay? Come to method summary. So when you look at these methods available to us in the string class, you will find out that there are a few methods which will help you convert string into all the lower to the uppercase. Then you can find out the length of the string. You can find out and concatenate two strings together. You can find out at which position or whether a substring is available in the main string or not. So these are some of the functions, and many such functions are available to us with the string object. So let's see a small program for it. So here we have got a string and we say it's called hello. The very first method we are going to use is we are going to find the string dot length. So the moment I say str dot, I will be able to access the different methods available with this object, and these methods are the same as you find it out in the method summary. So if I want to get the length of the string, I will say string dot length. Okay, this will print the number of characters available with the string object. Then string lowercase is equal to str dot to lowercase, and we print the string alphabets in the small letters. Uppercase string alphabets in the capital letters. How does it benefit us? When we try to compare or find out a string in a given page, sometimes due to case not matching with each other, we will not get a match. Okay? So we would like to ignore the case. One way of ignoring the case is either convert all strings into lower or convert all string into upper. So that if the strings are otherwise equal in the form of characters, they should match, and the match should not be just ignored because the case is not the same. Then str.concat allows you to concatenate two strings together. So let me comment the rest of the methods and execute just this few. So here number of characters in the string is 5, lowercase, uppercase, and string after concatenating. Okay? Simple. Moving forward to the next set of strings, methods. So, trimming the string. For example, if we have a string which has got a lot of white spaces before and after, we can use the trim method to remove those white spaces. Please understand that it will not work between the characters of the string. Before and after the string, the white spaces will be removed. Then str.charadd. The function charadd returns the character available in the string at a given position. So charadd, let's say 2, you want to find out which character is available at the second position. Remember that the string positioning starts from 0. Okay? So it will actually be the third character returned. Now, if I want to find out the string index between, let's say, 1 to 4, I want to extract the substring between 1 to 4. So it will return me the characters which are identified from position 1 to position 4. And if I want to replace a character in a string, let's say I want to replace L with capital Y, so it will replace and print the string. You can also replace a word in a string. Now let's try to run this program. So this is concatenation. This is the string before the trim. This is the string after the trim. Character at the index 2 is L. String between the index 1 to 4 is ELL. Replacing the string, that is L, with capital Y, we get this. and replacing the characters or a set of string, substring, that is, we replaced E double L, we get HTML. Okay. Now, if you want to search for a string in a given string, how will you do it? So one of the methods is index of. Index of basically returns you the position as a positive number greater than equal to 0 the character you are searching for a if the character or a substring you are searching for in the main string is found. So it will return you the position. If not found, it will return you -1. And lastly, if I want to equate a string with the another, whether a string is equal to or not equal to, I use dot equals method, not the equal to operator, dot equals method to evaluate the same. So as I run this program, index of the substring is 1. The index of the substring AZZS is -1, not found, and string selenium is not equal to string elenium. Okay. So just read this program. If there is any doubt, concern, let me know. Any questions? Fine, so let's take a few assignment problems related to the string class. Write down a program to print the string in reverse without using any inbuilt function. Write down a program to find whether a given string is a palindrome or not. Now, what is a palindrome string? A palindrome string is one which is read the same from left to right or right to left. Okay? For example, hello is not a palindrome. But is a palindrome. Okay? So we will move forward to the next topic, which is arrays, and discuss it. And then we will come back to strings to talk about a concept which both of them share. So arrays is basically a collection of similar data types. Okay? A collection of similar data types is an array. How do we declare an array? An array is declared as, for example, int is equal to new int. So this will declare an array of integer values which will store 10 numbers. Okay? So int will declare an array of integer values which will store 10 numbers. So marks 0 will be the first number, marks 1 will be the second number, marks 2 will be the third number, marks 3 will be the fourth number, and so on and so forth. Okay? This is important. It should be clear to you guys that an array starting position of the number of the array is 0, and this is how we declare an array. These are known as one-dimensional array. I can go ahead and create an array of string objects. I can go ahead and create an array of Boolean values. I can go ahead and create an array of other objects. Okay? The starting position of an array element is from 0. In the above example, it will store 11 numbers. No. The size of the array will remain 10 only. In the first one, the size of the array will remain 5 only. So, there is a relation between the length and the number of indexes. So, index values in an array will be from 0 to array length minus 1. Array length is the number of elements it can store. So in the above example marks, length is 10, index value will be 0 to 9. In the second example, size of the array is 5 and index will be from 0 to 4. Okay? Clear? Now, can you think about how if I want to iterate through the array elements, I want to access the elements inside the array. Is there something which we can use which we have already learnt about? Yes, the for loop. Very good answer. So, for int I equal to 0, I less than array, so you can say marks dot length minus 1, I plus plus, system dot out dot println marks I. What will this particular code snippet do? It will print all the elements of the array one by one. Okay, it is going to print all the elements of the array one by one. This is what this code snippet is going to do, and through this we can access and manipulate the elements within the array. Now we have to be careful that until when we want to iterate the array to. So we want to iterate the array to I should be less than equal to marks dot length minus 1, or we could write like this, that I should be less than marks dot length. If we do not take care of until when the array should get iterated, the loop continuation condition, if we are not careful about it, and we may write it like this, then we will also be able to access the position marks dot length, which is marks 10. The minute you access this position, you will get an error, array index out of bounds. So this is one of the most common exceptions you will find when we are working with arrays, getting array index out of bounds, which means we have wrongfully accessed an array position which was less than 0 or more than the length of the array minus 1. Okay, so we have accessed an invalid index, an invalid position in the array. That's why we will get array index out of bound exception. So let's see an example of it. So here we are creating a scanner object. We create an array of integer data type having 5 values. Okay. Then we say system.out.println the size of the array is numbers.length. That is the size of the array. Then we say for int index 0, index less than numbers.length, index plus plus. System.out.print, we are going to print the number. Read the number from the keyboard. So for a given index, read the number. Once the numbers are read, once the array is populated, we are printing the array in the reverse order. So let's run this program. So the output which we get is, so if we have read the arrays as this number, this is the output which we get. Okay, clear? Just read the program. So let's have a look at another array program. Here we are going to use a function of the string object. So let me first talk about it. The function is called as split and the other function is called as a join. Split is a function available to us with the string object, and its function is, or its so for example, I created a string as this is a string I created. Now in this string, every complete string or substring is separated by the another using this pipe symbol. So this pipe symbol is known as what we call a separator or a delimiter. We can break the main string into substrings based on this delimiter using the split function. This will return to us an array of substrings. Okay, so what it will return? It will return to us an array of substrings. So string str we have just defined. Now on splitting it would be like this. So we'll be writing it up as in string data is equal to str dot split. What will it return? It will return this. So data 0 would be data 1 would be, data 2 would be, so this is how the data will be, or string will be divided into substrings, or what we call it as splitted into substrings, and these are the values which will be stored in the array. Okay, is this clear? So it is very commonly used. Imagine you are trying to read the data from a CSV file. So CSV file is a file where the data values are comma separated values. Okay. So the data is stored in the form of comma separated values. So here I can read this data and I have to separate this data based upon the separator comma. Okay. If I want, I can also split a value or separate a string using nothing. In that format, or when we do that, every character will be splitted. Example, if I split it on nothing, then it will separate every character. Okay? So let's see a small program using this. We have available with us an array which is of string data type, and we call it as fruits, and we populated it with some values. Now I want to just print a fruit name whose value or whose name starts with the letter M. So this is what I do. For int I equal to 0, I less than fruits dot length I plus plus. I split the string on nothing and I fetch the first character. If the first character equals M, I will print that fruit name, otherwise I will move on. So I get two inputs. Now imagine I have created an error by saying I less than equal to fruits dot length. This means I am trying to access an array position which is outside the bounds of the array. So when I do that, this is the error which I will get, array index out of bounds. Just read this program. If there is any question, let me know. Any questions? Okay. So if there are no questions, can you help me understand that what does this mean? Public static void main string args. Are you able to identify what does this mean now? We have been writing it since the day 0. What does this mean? Yeah, it means, good answer, an array of string as an argument. Okay. So this basically means the program can take an input as an array of strings. Okay. Now from where will be providing this as input? So these are known as command line parameters. The command line parameters allow us to pass on some values to the program at runtime, and the values will be stored in this particular array. So at the runtime we can access the different values associated with this array and work with those command line parameters. So let's see a small program for it. So in this particular program, we are asking and fetching three values from the command line. First two are numbers, and the third is the operator. So based upon the operator provided, that particular operation will be performed on the first two numbers. So we read the value and understand that it is always a string which is read and always a string which is printed. So we use a method called as integer.parseInt, which is a method which converts string into an integer value, and we read the first value args0. Integer.parseInt args1. This will fetch us two integers from the command line. Then the third is the operator. So we say for the argument third, find the character available at the 0th position. We do not want to read any extra information, just the operator, which is a single character. Now, based upon the operator which is provided, we create a for switch conditional statement. So we say switch the operator case. So these are the different cases available. And then default invalid operator selected. Okay. So let's execute this program. So we'll get an error. Why? Because we haven't provided any command line parameters. So to provide command line parameters, click on this down arrow and go to run configurations. Here, select command line parameters and go to the arguments tab. Let's provide argument here 3, 4 and plus, apply it and run. So we'll get the output 3 plus 4 equal to 7. Okay. So this is a way of passing input to the program. So sometimes we want some configuration level settings passed to the program, for example, browser, URL, etc. We can do so using the command line parameters for our Java programs. Is this clear? Now, the final concept in the arrays is something called as a two-dimensional array. So a two-dimensional array or a 2D array is an array which will have both rows and columns. And you will find out that many real-time data values are stored in this particular data structure programmatically. For example, values stored in databases or Excel sheets, when you want to read and create a program out of it, you will be using 2D arrays to store such values. So a 2D array will have both rows and columns, and it is declared as this, okay, using two square brackets. So this will create an array of 3 rows and each row having 2 columns. This is what it means. Okay, so a 2D array is also known as an array of an array. Okay, a 2D array is also known as an array of an array. So let's see a program for it. So we create an array having 3 rows and 3 columns, so each row having 3 columns. So to iterate or to read or do anything with this array, we are going to use 2 for loops. One for loop for the outer and one for loop for the inner. So one for loop for the rows and another for loop for the columns. So we say for int I equal to 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus. Inside it another for loop. For int j equal to 0, j less than array I dot length j plus plus. And ij is equal to I plus j into 10. So this will create and store the values in the array at the I and j positions. Okay. So this is a for loop. This is for rows. Inside each row, we are iterating the columns and then we are storing these values in the array. Similarly, we are using the for loop again to print the values. Okay. So let's run this program. This is the output which we get. So we are populating the array at a position. We are populating the array at a position by using this formula. And then to iterate the array, we use again the for loop. So read the array for loop for the columns. For int j equal to 0, j should be less than array I dot length. Okay, j plus plus. So remember that we always say a 2D array as an array of an array. So an array of row where each row will have an array of columns. So just read this program. Let me know if there is anything which is not clear to you guys. Any questions? So what we have learned in array is we have learned about one-dimensional array, we have learned about two-dimensional array, we have learned about the split function to be used, we have learned about um, the for loops to iterate the array, we have learned about the array index out of bounds, and we have learned about the command line parameters with the array. Now, array is one of the most commonly used data structures to work with the programming environment. Let's take an assignment problem. So the assignment problem is like this. Write down a program to read 10 numbers from the end user and find out the following. The largest number, the smallest number, average of 10 numbers. Okay. Your question 4 is write down a program which will read 5 names from the end user. In each name, find out and print the number of vowels available. Example, if the name entered as is, how many vowels are there? 2. Okay. Your question 5th is write down a program to find the transpose of a 2D array. Transpose is when you interchange rows and columns. Example, let's say we have an array like this. Transpose of this array would be interchange rows and columns. Okay, this is what interchanging of rows and columns will print. Okay, so you can take this input and get this output. Are the assignment problems clear to you guys for array? Okay, so we'll take a short break now, and after that we will speak about and discuss something called as hashes. So I'll see you guys in next 5-10 minutes. Resuming the session, I hope you all are able to hear me and see the screen. So what we are going to discuss now is a hash map, and why do we need it? Let's discuss this also. So hash map is another data structure which is available to us to store the values, okay? The reason for a hash map usage is that in array, the indexing is very hard, as in the indexing in the array is number based or is numeric. Okay, whereas sometimes it is possible that we do not want indexing to be number based, or we want to create our own indexes because our data itself carries some important identifiers. In that situation, we would be wanting to use something called as a hash map. For example, let's say you want to create a structure, a data structure to store information about people in US. Okay, now in US you have got something called as an SSN number, which almost everybody in the US has, right? And it's a unique identifier. So maybe this is what you want to use as an index and store your values, but that is not possible with the array, but it is possible with the hash map structure. So how do we define a hash map structure? We define a hash map structure as using the angular brackets and the curly braces. So let's have a look at it. So here we create a hash map, angular bracket, string comma string is equal to new hash map, this. Okay. Here the first string represents the key and the second string is for the value. Okay. So in a hash map, the data is stored in something called as a key value pair. Okay. Key is always unique, whereas value can be duplicate. And another thing, key value pair will always be unique. So I can store value like this. So here, what is the key? This is the key, right? And what is the value? The name of the person is the value associated with this particular key. Clear? Is this clear? Okay. Now let's say in the same hash map structure, I store value like this. Okay. Now, can you make sense of this information? For every social security number, we have got a set of values available which are separated by a separator, that is a colon. Okay. So this is a key. Key contains value. The value is actually a string which contains multiple data inputs which are separated by a separator colon. So if I want, I can go ahead and print for the social security number. The name is okay. I can print this information out. Can I? So here to do so, you will be using hash map, you will be using array, you will be using the split function, you will be using the string, you will be using the for loop to solve this particular problem. Clear? Is this clear?
Mama, Mama.
So I'm giving you this as an assignment to help you solve this. Let's first understand how do we use a hash map. Now there are some inbuilt functions with a hash. There are some inbuilt functions with the hash. There are some inbuilt functions with the hash map available like put, get, etc. using which we can iterate through a hash map, we can store values, we can fetch values, and we can delete some values. So let's see an example. So here we create a hash map which will have key as a string and value as a string, and we say new hash map. Then we say hm.put. We provide the value along with the phone number. So dot put is a method which will take the key value pair and store it in a hash map. Then let's say I want to fetch the value associated with a particular key. I will say hm.get and provide the name of the key to return me back the value. So for example, I want to fetch the phone number associated with the key Roshan. So this is what I will get. Then let's say I want to remove a particular key. So I say hm.remove Bernard. What will happen is it will remove the key value pair. This will get removed. Okay. Then how do I print or iterate through the hash map? The hash map will have elements which are keys and values. Now keys are always unique and it's an array of keys which is available. So we create something called as object array is equal to hm.keyset.toArray. So keyset will return to us the list of all keys and we will convert the list to an array. Why object? Let me explain this line. So object is a generic data type available to us. Okay, it's a generic data type available to us. HM is the name of the hash map. Keyset is a function which will return a set of keys available with the hash map, and we convert this list into an array. So this is a generic array created called as keys, in which this value, which will be a list of keys from the hash map, stored. Then for every key inside this array, print the key and fetch the value using the hm.get function by passing the key, the value associated with every key, to print the hash map structure. So this is the output which I get. So this is the number associated with the name Roshan. We removed the key Bernard, and this is the hash map after the removal of the key. So just read this program. Let me know if there is any part which is not clear to you guys. Any questions regarding hash map? Okay. So that's all we have for today. So these are the assignment problems. See, the idea behind these assignment problems is, please understand, is logic building, and for you to warm up your hands and your skill set using Java as a programming language, so you feel a little bit comfortable. So it's a request that please take out some time this week and do these assignments. It's important that you guys attempt them. Okay, write down the pseudocode, try practicing it, because from next week onwards, after the first two classes, we will be starting Selenium WebDriver. And to make the best use of Selenium WebDriver, it is important and crucial that you are having a little bit of proficiency in Java as a programming language. So whatever time you get before next week starts, please write down these Java programs, do these assignments, or practice the ones which we have done in the class. Okay, sit and write down these programs. So we'll have a class tomorrow where we will be discussing about regular expressions and file handling. And then that would be for this week. And then for next week, we will be discussing the object-oriented programming in Java, and we'll be starting with Selenium WebDriver. So I'll see you guys tomorrow then. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.